Hello, welcome to a Paper Flourish craft video. My name is Julie. Today I'm going to make the next page in my Lokta Paper Journal. So page 1, the page that I'm going to make now, page 2, is going to go on the back of page 1. So I'm going to follow a similar process to what I did with page 1. I've already gone ahead and cut out a piece of Multifarious cardstock. Now this measures 5.5 inches by 8 inches. And that will be the backing which the Lokta paper will go onto. I used half an A4 sheet. This is Lavinia Lokta paper, half the sheet, and then I've gone around with a wet brush, wet the edges, torn them away till my piece ended up smaller than the Multifarious cardstock. Took a big chunk out there. I figured, well, I'm just going to go with that and see what happens because I'm not wasting Lokta paper. Okay, I've decided I'm going to... Every page I do, I'm sort of asking a question of the Lokta paper. Can I do this with it? So today I want to see if I can paint a Dinkles background. Now, I know at the moment we don't have Dinkles in stock. And as soon as Lavinia restocks in England and they allow us to order them in, we will get them back in. So if you've got the Dinkles, play with them. If not, maybe Brushos. If you've got some of those Brushos powders at home, use those as well. So that's my plan today, to see if I can paint with one of these gorgeous powders. Now I've got, this is one of the Lavinia watercolour brushes. I love these. Look at the size of that brush. So my plan is I'm going to pop the Lokta paper on some paper towel and I'm just going to paint. So I'll set that up. Now what I've done is I've taken 3 colours of Dinkles. I've got Lime Divine and I've sprinkled some onto just a tear off paper palette. This is Blue Dragon and the lovely Sea Blue. So I'm going to, with my water bottle, just squirt just to wet those powders so I can paint with them. But I thought those 3 are going to make a lovely sea. All right, I'm going to pick up Sea Blue first and I'm just going to paint the Lokta paper. I might need a bit more water. So that's the beautiful Sea Blue. I'm now going to pick up some of the Blue Dragon. Now I did find I did need to wet the Dinkles a lot more than I started with to get the most out of that beautiful powder. Okay, there we go. Just sweeping the colour across. And then let's go in with Lime Divine, which has managed to mix itself a little bit with the Blue Dragon. I think that will look pretty good. So that's all painted. Now I'm going to dry this with my heat tool. I find the best way to do it is dry it on the paper towel rather than try and lift it away. I'm really happy with that. Don't those colours look lovely? This even looks nice. That's the back of it. So it's a little bit fainter on the back. I actually really like that side as well. I don't know which side I want to use, but that's worked really, really nicely. Let me pop it on the Multifarious cardstock with the white behind it. How stunning is that? Now at the moment I don't want the white border. I want the border to blend in with the Lokta paper. So I'm going to get my Dinkles powders and I'm just going to go around the edge. Not just a bit of that type of thing, and mix some of those colours in around the edge of the Multifarious cardstock, and then I'll give that a good dry as well. I just ended up playing with all 3 colours of Dinkles around the edge of the Multifarious. I also went right on the edge with Blue Dragon just to darken the edge a little bit. If you didn't want to do that, you could always darken the edge with an ink blending tool and one of the blue inks. Okay, so I'm going to do is decorate the Multifarious cardstock and then the Lokta paper. Now one of the other questions I'm going to ask of the Lokta paper today is, can I emboss on Lokta paper? So I'm going to start by doing a little bit of embossing first on the Multifarious cardstock. Now I wanted to have an idea of some seaweed around the edge just showing through, and I wanted to emboss in the Princess Gold Ranger embossing powder. I'm going to use Jalandhar, but I think I'm just going to use the tentacles. I think they could make pretty cool seaweed. I've got the long Lavinia acrylic board It fits beautifully on there. I only want to use, I'm just going to bring the embossing sort of like this, and then I might do the same coming down from the top. Okay, my Versamark Embossing Ink Pad. Ink up the stamp. And then I'm just going to stamp. So you only end up seeing the edges of the Multifarious cardstock, and I've left the middle white just so that's underneath the Lokta paper. And that way it makes that Lokta paper colour shine through so much better. I've got a folded piece of paper. Popping that beautiful gold embossing powder on. You can see there it's picked up the embossing. I'm going to heat that with the heat tool to emboss it. I've gone ahead and embossed the tentacles of Jalandhar the whole way around. So I did some from the top, some from the bottom, some from the top, and also along the middle there. And I reckon that looks pretty spectacular. That is a really great stamp to use as seaweed or any type of foliage. So I always do that with my Lavinia stamps. I always look at them and go, what else could I do with this stamp? Because not only is this a jellyfish, but I've just turned it into seaweed as well. That's all I'm going to do on the background, but you can see eventually when that Lokta paper's on there, the beautiful gold is just going to be sitting there around the edges. Okay, let's start decorating the Lokta paper. I'm thinking of stamping Sebastian the seahorse onto the Lokta paper, and I'm going to do that with my Nocturne Versafine Clair, and I'm going to use my Couture stamp press to do that. Here's Sebastian stamped beautifully on that Lokta paper, and just using that black Versafine Clair. Remember, when you're stamping, or if you're stamping on your stamp press, just place a piece of scrap paper underneath the Lokta paper, because the ink does go through the Lokta paper, and that just protects your stamp press. I'm going to also stamp some seaweed, or emboss some seaweed onto the Lokta paper. So here comes the next experiment. Can I make this work? I'm going to use Jalandhar again, same as I did before, stamping. And this time though, I'm going to do the embossing with the Distress Embossing Glaze Peacock feathers. So I don't want it to stand out quite as much this time on the Lokta paper, and that's why I'm not using the gold. Okay, paper over. These embossing glazes are beautiful. They will emboss, but they are also transparent. So I'm thinking of this sort of just being in the background. Now I'm going to heat this with my heat tool very carefully, because I don't want to focus too much on one area at a time, because I don't want to burn the Lokta paper. Let's see if I can make this work. Now I'm hoping you can see this, but it has embossed really nicely onto the background. It's made it sort of a little bit shimmery almost. But it's just in the background. It's just adding almost like a shimmery pattern onto the paper. I'm going to add a little bit more on this side as well, and across the bottom. That's worked really beautifully. It's all shimmery and sparkly down the bottom of the sea. All right, I'm going to bring a little bit more of the gold embossing back in. Now I know that we can emboss on Lokta paper, I'm going for it. This is the School of Fish. And I've popped it on. I love this little thin Lavinia acrylic board. It's perfect for a stamp like this. All right, that's inked up now with the Versamark Embossing Ink Pad. And I think we might have some fish coming in over here at the side. I've got my Princess Gold embossing powder all set to go. Let's get that on straight away. And I'll heat that up and emboss it. I love the gold fish. Isn't that just gorgeous? So easy. That was really easy to emboss on. Now I've even got a bit of gold on the top of Sebastian. Look at that. one more thing, I just want something for this top corner. I looked through my sentiments and I didn't have too many, nothing that was to do with the ocean or fish, so I need to fix that, don't I? But I grabbed this. This is one of the latest stamps that came out. It's called Nightfall, and I thought I could use the word silence underneath the sea. So I'm going to pop that in, just that top corner. I'm just going to stamp this with Versafine Clair Nocturne. And I think that might complete my beautiful piece of Lokta paper. I'm happy with that. The embossing looks spectacular on Lokta paper. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to stick this to the background. I'll use the Stamperia craft glue, and then I'm going to place it into my Lokta Paper Journal, and I will show you the finished product. I've used the Stamperia craft glue. First, I stuck the Lokta paper to the Multifarious cardstock, and then I've stuck that piece of Multifarious cardstock to the back of page 1. The only difference is that I put the edge of the Multifarious on the other side of the spine. See how the spine is in between the two pieces? Stamperia craft glue is great because it gives you enough time to move it around if need be. Once that sticks, it will not budge. All done. So the Lokta Paper Journal journey continues. So there's page 1, and now I've got my Sebastian the Seahorse page for page 2. Page 3 will be the next video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. I hope you're enjoying working with the beautiful Lokta paper. I think it's the most stunning product, and we'll keep putting it to the test, see what else can be done with this amazing product. Have a wonderful day, and I will be back soon with the next video. Thank you. Bye.